What's up, Nail Geeks? I am back with Femme Fatale's January 2021 collection. This is the Lovers in the Snow set and is inspired by Suzuki Harunobu's Lovers Walking in the Snow or the Crow and the Heron. It is a beautiful mood board you can see in the Facebook group. I also have the Fiend of the Month for January and I have the Color of the Month, so let's dive right in. First up is Crow. This is a smooth black jelly base with small platinum silver flakes and super fine holographic silver flakes. And this is gorgeous. Some of my favorite types of flakes. These types of platinum silver flakes are quite reflective and they look so good against that black base. I do agree with the official description. This is absolutely a very smooth, satisfying sort of jelly base. It builds up very quickly to opacity, and for full coverage, I'm going to suggest 3 coats on it. Those of you rocking shorties, you might be able to get away with 2 coats, but I thought that 3rd coat really helped plump it out and just helped to make that black base so much more opaque and in your face. Now this does dry down a touch on the flat side. I'm going to suggest a good glossy top coat to seal this one off and you'll be good to go, and it'll look that somewhat slightly juicy factor, really satisfying, and lots of sparkle. And next is Quiet Beauty. This is a clear-based antique silver micro glitter topper with a soft linear holographic accent. So it is suggested in our PR information that you can absolutely sponge this one on for full opacity, or you can layer it up at 3 coats. So I think there's a touch of versatility with this one. I think it would make a fantastic, very opaque topper. And I also think it'll look really cool sponged on, but honestly, when I went in and just wore it on its own and just applied it like a normal polish, I had no problems getting it up to full opacity. So I personally think that if you go in normally on your first coat and on the second coat, kind of do that icing method, beat it up a little bit against your cuticle, and then slowly drag that bead out to the rest of your nail, you'll get really lovely coverage. This is very sparkly. I love these types of finishes. This is so in your face. After I worked on this collection, I actually wore this one for a couple of days and I just fell in love with it. If you like really blingy, loud sort of nails, this is definitely for you. Now I'm going to suggest a good glossy top coat with it. I didn't have a whole lot of problems in terms of texture, but it is just the slightest bit thirsty. And next is Snowscape. This is a creamy yellow toned ivory base with assorted white glitter hexes within. This has a quite Crelly-like formula to it, so it's got just a touch of a squish factor, but it's very smooth and creamy on application. So for opacity on this one, I'm going to suggest between 2 and 3 coats. It's really going to depend on your free edge length and how you apply. Now, if you guys remember, I did have these really bad breaks, especially on my middle nail here. So at the point that I was swatching this, I want to say I worked on this collection about a month ago, and it was pretty bad. So I still didn't have any problems in terms of it affecting my application and needing an extra coat or anything. So I honestly felt like this one was creamy enough that it hid my imperfections very well. So going in for that 3rd coat, I just felt it plumped it out very nicely. I didn't have a problem getting those glitters on the brush from the bottle. They do come up quite dense, and I think it'll give a nice scattered effect, and there's no reason for any sort of fishing or anything like that. So easy application, and I'm going to suggest going in with a glossy top coat to finish it off. And next is Heron. This is a luscious yellow toned cream with deep gray micro flakes that give a hint of purple in the light. So the micro flakes here, I do agree with the official description. They are quite interesting. In indoor lighting and just your average everyday lighting, they are going to take on this almost charcoal sort of tiny specked effect. And at angles, I did see just the slightest bit of a purple shift with them. It is very subtle in person. Now the base color to this one is very interesting. I do agree that it's this deep sort of yellow toned cream. I want to classify it as a very light colored taupe almost, and I think there's the slightest bit of a yellow undertone with it. So very soft and delicate. The formula on this one's very creamy. I think most are going to be okay at 2 coats. Again, depending on how you apply, you might need a 3rd coat if you apply thin. And next is Pink Silk. This is a sheer silk and pink base that gives way to a strong red, orange, yellow, green unicorn pigment. Now this one I do think is also very versatile. I think you can use this as a topper, but when you build it up on its own, I'm going to suggest 3 coats on it. And I would also say that 3 coats of a normal sort of application. So no need to go very light with it. If you want to cover up your smile line, as this is a sheer soft sort of polish, I would suggest some sort of color correcting base coat, or again, this is going to make a fantastic topper. This is loaded up with that unicorn pigment shimmer, very strong. In indoor and bright lights, it's going to take on this very coppery sort of orange effect, and at angles it easily shifts over to this strong orangey sort of yellow, and then at angles it's shifting over to green. It's very lovely, very pretty. I love colors like this. They're so glowy and vibrant. And again, lots of versatility. Now here on that 3rd coat, you can see that it's building up very well, but again, it is a soft shade, so you are seeing a touch of my smile line, which I also saw in person. Now this does dry down somewhat flat, so again, a good glossy top coat to seal this one off. And next is Tender Affection. This is a glistening glitter and a clear base. It's a rosy sort of pink holographic micro glitter with micro rose gold flakes and holographic pigment. One of my favorites in the set. I think that's expected at this point. I love glitters, especially micro glitters. They're my favorite, and especially when you can build them up on their own. This is very sparkly in person, quite intense on that holographic effect. Lots of sparkles, so stinking pretty. Now for opacity, I'm going to suggest between 2 and 3 coats. I think it builds up very well to full opacity, and I think you're going to be perfect between that 2nd and 3rd coat, depending on how you apply. Now this is a very flattering sort of pink. I think if you have medium to deep skin tones, it's going to pop very well on you too. So I would classify this sort of pink as being one of those very universally flattering sorts of shades. There's definitely this mauve sort of undertone. And of course we have this nice golden sort of inner glow cast with it. It's very lovely. Now, full disclosure, I did use a glitter smoothing top coat and a glossy top coat to finish off. And next we have Aya Gaza. This is a burnt orange foil type of finish that shifts to copper and gold at angles in the light. So another really lovely, really intense sort of finish. There's quite a bit of a sparkle with this one, and I do agree with the official description. It's got that very foil type of vibe to the sparkle effect. Now for opacity on it, I'm going to suggest 2, maybe 3 coats. It's going to depend on how you apply, and I think this is one of those oranges that is very flattering. It's on the somewhat burnt side, so we have just the slightest bit of a neutral feel with it, and I think it's kind of warmed up even more by that copper and gold shimmer. So very lovely, and it builds up very quickly to opacity. Now this one also dries down quite flat, so again, good glossy top coat to finish it off, and you'll be good to go. Now here in a moment, you'll see on that 3rd coat, I think it plumped out really well. So of course, again, this will depend on your preference, but for me, in all honesty, I thought for myself, it really popped on that 3rd coat. It just helped that base color come out really well, and a lot of that foily sort of shimmery payoff. I just think it maximized it the best. And again, a good glossy top coat to seal this one off, just to maximize that foily sort of sparkle. And next is Michiyuki. This is a slightly yellow tinted soft brown crelly base packed with red to green iridescent flakes. And this is also a very crelly sort of formula. I would classify this one in the prugly category. I don't really like saying prugly because I feel like it almost has a negative connotation to it, but I definitely get it. It's just one of those really interesting sort of colors. It's very neutral. It's definitely got the slightest bit of an olive tone to it, but there's also this brownish and yellowish sort of cast depending on your lighting. Now the flakes in here complement that base color very well. You'll get so much red and green sort of shifts from them. And I feel like the formula on this has the slightest bit more of a jelly-like feel to it. So it is quite satisfying. It It layers down very well. And I think 3 coats on this one is going to be perfect just to maximize the flakes and really plump it out. Now this also, again, dries down quite flat, so you're going to want to use a glossy top coat, which again is what you're seeing on the full hand shot here. And next we have the color of the month. This is Flame Streak, described as a sheer amber-like orange with an array of iridescent and foil flakes within. So this upcoming year for 2021, Femme Fatale is going to be doing another theme for her Color of the Month series. And this year she will be doing awareness ribbons. So this one is going to be having donations to the Healing Foundation, which is a national Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander organization. And it partners with communities to address the ongoing trauma by the actions including the forced removal of children from their families. I'm going to break all of that information down below for you guys, as well as the organization that donations will be going to. And $2 of every bottle of Flame Streak will be going to that foundation. Now, Flame Streak is very pretty. It's one of those super striking sort of oranges. I really liked this. It's got quite a bit of a jelly-like feel on those brush strokes and a very strong squish factor to it. I'm going to suggest 3 coats to build it up, and the flakes in here are lovely. They have just the slightest bit of that reflective sort of appearance with them, and at the 3rd coat, I think it maximized the amount of flakes on your nails. Really lovely. Now this also dries down flat, so finish off with a glossy top coat, and it really helps those flakes to just pop. And next we have the Fiend of the Month. This is Marsala. This is a chartreuse crelly with a hint of olive in the base color and speckled black micro glitters. So 2021's Fiend of the Month series is going to be spices, and this one is really, really lovely, and I think it just really matches up with this spicy sort of connotation. This has a true jelly-like formula, but it's got that excellent juicy sort of factor when you go in with a glossy top coat. For opacity, I'm going to suggest between 2 and 3 coats. I personally found that 2 coats gave it that perfect plump effect. So again, your preference if you want to finish off with a 3rd coat, but I thought 2 coats was really lovely, and it's just so juicy with that slightly bit of a hint of that milky sort of effect in like the jelly properties to it. So here on the full hand shot, you are seeing a glossy top coat applied, and I'm good to go. Now the pre-order for Femme Fatale is going to start January 4th at 9 a.m. Australian time and will run until January 8th at 9 p.m. Australian time. I will link Femme Fatale below for you guys if you want to check it out. Remember, these pre-orders are limited, so you can only grab them during this sale window. Of course, they will be available through stockists if they choose to carry them. The one I have been mentioning is Butometry, and typically I've been seeing her pre-orders, if you are US and international, typically around the same time that Femme Fatale does theirs. Definitely check out Butometry if you want to order from there. But remember, Femme Fatale is based in Australia. However, they do ship internationally. So if you want to grab them and stock up on those Fiendling points, if you have an account through their website, it's definitely there. And also remember that the Fiend of the Month polishes, you do have to have an account on their website. It's absolutely free. And again, when you order and whatnot, you can rack up those points. I will break all of this down below for you guys. And I'll also link you guys to the Femme Fatale Facebook group if you want to check out additional swatches and other release information, especially that mood board. This one was so good too. Sophie is an absolute artist at her craft, and I love it. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.